Welcome to the Rideshare Rodeo Podcast. My guest this week is the creator of Maximo, DUH, Flex Alert, Gig Wars, and Yak. You know, I'm going to let Chopper Bell tell us about it.
Gary'sApps.com is the destination for apps that helps gig workers be safer, more focused, and more proficient. The Maximo app, which is spelled Maxymo, it helps Uber, Lyft, and Grubhub drivers by automatically switching between apps and turning them on or off as needed. For example, if a driver accepts an Uber trip, Maximo will turn off all the other apps that are online, and when the trip is completed, it'll turn the apps back on for the driver. It will also auto-accept or decline offers based on the driver's personal preferences that they set directly in Maximo. Then they have the Driver's Utility Helper app, also known as DUH, which is similar to Maximo, but is only for DoorDash drivers. It as well can help by automatically accepting or declining offers, in addition to showing drivers on-screen information such as the per-mile rate and how long until the delivery is due, which will allow the driver to make a decision quicker when the request comes in. The last app is Flex Alert for Amazon Flex drivers. It takes the hassle out of tapping the screen for hours on end, which can be exhausting, by automatically tapping the refresh button for the driver and then alerting them when a new block appears. This way they can focus on a more important task, driving. Find out more at Gary's Apps, Garys apps.com for more information and download the apps you need today.
God, Bill has a smooth as silk voice. There was a little static in there if you guys heard it, but other than that, Gary and I have both had the pleasure of working with that man on actual radio, and his voice just is one of those radio voices. You just can't beat it, dude. But ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gary Middleton. What's up, Gary?
You made me a liar to Bubba Sue, by the way. Because like I was talking to her on Discord earlier, and she said something about getting ready for your live, and I was like, oh, I don't think it's live because you posted on X. It was at 6 p.m. Eastern, and that's not true.
No, I said that for Thursday.
Maybe I misread the date.
Because no, they're both on X as one post.
But then we was talking about not doing this live.
Oh yeah. I mean, we're going to go through some stuff, and the way I look at it is I'm going to look over to the comments in between each thing, and I'm going to see if there's anything. And if a lot of times you guys in the comments are just answering each other's questions, and actually I appreciate that. So I'm glad Gary just said that, because I like it when people, if you guys have heard me say something and somebody in the chat's asking it, answer it, please. Like, if you know the answer it, because then I know it's answered. And otherwise, I don't want to always sound like a broken record. And a lot of the questions are good questions, but they've been answered many times. So I know a lot of you, even if you don't pay attention in class, I know I've said it enough where it's stuck in your head. Gary, how are you? By the way, if you download any of Gary's apps while this show is live, they're free for 10 years.
Yeah, Steve pays for them. Just make sure to let me know so I can collect from Steve.
Okay, never mind. They're not. But we will get around to, we've got some topics here today that we're going to be covering 4 foundational changes that need to happen in the gig app space, and here's why. Do they need to? They need to if the platforms continue to classify drivers as independent contractors, and that's just what it is. I mean, look, if they want to, it would suck for me in terms of I wouldn't have that as a source of income any longer if they did go to an employee model, which they can't and they won't. But if they did, I can't do that because I can, all of us can do better than that of what that would look like.
Well, you don't think they're an employee model already? They have earned by time.
Dude, why would you get me started this early? Gary's like already talking about active time, like a made up term. Like, dude, that people are like, those are unicorn orders. I'm like, you need a different term than unicorn, because unicorn isn't real. And those orders every once in a while do come up. Like active time is a unicorn. It's just, like that'd be like me saying Steve time. I want to know how many hours a day you're listening to me. Is it like 0.001? I mean, I don't know. Don't make up units of measurement of time when we all know the same one. Just use it. Is Gary frozen? By the way, that's not his. It's not mine. It's his today. So, Gary, I'm kicking you out. You got to log back in. Okay. Hopefully he's at least hearing this. I will kind of talk slowly, but you know what? While he's out, let me do this, because it was the set. Oh, wait, here he is. Never mind.
I found out.
Whose internet?
China doesn't like your podcast. My VPN was kicking out StreamYard.
Well, dude, yeah, I don't know, man. Communist countries probably don't like any podcasts. Speaking opinions, dude. Like,
but yeah, I think that's what it was. My VPN kept kicking out StreamYard.
But here's the 4 things we're going to cover, because every time I talk about them, this is what we say. After each one of these is the if statement. So if it's this, if you're an independent contractor, this, if you're an independent contractor. But we're going to cover transparency, both of drivers and customers, and a few reasons for that. Deactivations, like the importance of a human review if necessary. Meaning, like, you think you were wrongfully deactivated. And then removal of all driver metrics and all tier systems. They got to go. That's against every state's independent contractor terms. And use of third-party apps. And obviously this gets, this could get into things like Para, which I was involved with. ParaWorks, many of you know, which, was maybe crossing a line. But what they brought about was some truth to what was really going on behind the scenes. But yet it wasn't really a fight to keep that alive, because yes, that's probably crossing a third-party line. But like Gary's apps are not.
Right. Actual utility apps, or apps that help you track your income, things like that.
Right. Yeah, right. I mean, plus, we're going to get into more than that too, because it's also not just about using third party, or I guess this still would be, but it's about, I was actually looking deeper, Gary. They're not even supposed to suggest any tools an independent contractor uses. So not only are they not supposed to tell you to use their in-app navigation, they're not even supposed to suggest which other ones you do use.
Right. But they also are not required, and a lot of people don't understand, they are not required to put links into their apps for other navigation either. You can use whatever you want, but they are not required to make it easy enough for you to copy and paste or any of that stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, they could even make it so you have to screenshot it, open your map, type it.
Right.
Yeah, I get you. But at the same time, I mean, to me, it would more be like, just allow, like, which mapping do you use? Because that's not promoting one over the other. You would just give an option to all of them, which they pretty much do anyway.
What's really bad is I think Lyft is trying to change theirs, but I know they actually use the Google API a lot. Brad McNally, man. Yeah. Let me bring up the map real quick. Flip through pages.
It's funny you say that. Brian, because I actually have a bunch of topo maps for Colorado and other states nearby, because I need that stuff when I'm going in the backcountry. And that's what I was thinking of, is like, there's ways to do that with like these $2,000 devices too, that like you load in cards and like download stuff, and you've got this ultimate GPS that works on a satellite. And even when cell phones are down, I'll just keep my paper maps there, because that's thousands of dollars. But yeah, we'll get into that too. But real quick, so listen, if you haven't signed the change.org thing, this is something that we're going to get into a little bit here because Gary submitted and some other people did too before we get into those other categories. But I wanted to share this link with you, and I'm going to real quickly just read it. It's not that long. And if you agree with this, it literally is just add your name and your email. That's all they need. It's free. So if you agree with what I'm reading here, and this is just basic. This is very basic. If you just agree with this, click the link I just put in there and add your name to this, please. So this one is for delivery, and I'm trying to keep them separated, just like the all of the legislation that has become law, and that are bills waiting to get into legislation and see if they become law. It's better to keep these separated. A totally different story. I've talked about it several times, but this one is delivery focused. So, Delivery Network Company Driver Transparency and Protections Act. So this is where it's just 3 different things. It's broken down. So the issue is, and this kind of talks about what Gary has already done, and then we'll let him tell what he did in his state that went even a step farther. And then we're doing a lot of this in other states too. So if you want, and if you haven't seen other videos or commented, if anything else confuses you, just email me, steve@ridesharerodeo.com. And if you want to get involved in your state, we do have a lot of people taking on a lot of states. So this is great, but we are submitting bills to Congress in each state since in November 2006, or way before that, Steve lost his eyesight, but hold on. Since in November 2006, all markets will be adopting some legislation defining Delivery Network Company, DNC, and how they will operate. We have a Transparency and Protection Act we are submitting state by state. Fixing full transparency, wrongful deactivations, and removing driver metrics would significantly improve the working conditions and livelihood of DoorDash and all app delivery network company drivers. Here's a breakdown of what it would do. So, full transparency. Drivers can see information about every delivery request, total payout, distance, drop-off location, expected time. Better decision-making. Drivers can choose based on true profitability instead of gambling on hidden tips and vague details, in which it also includes, like, where are you going to be? How well do you know the market? How small is your market? How big is your market? I look at a lot of these things. All of this, and this does, this is one of the parts of the challenge where it does make you better money too, when you know what you're doing. Increased earnings. So with clearer data, drivers can avoid low-paying or high-effort orders and focus on high-value ones. I like to blend that with what I said previous, because I think that, for each of us, it's different. But again, by showing you everything, you make better decisions and you will optimize the time better. Knowing full details up front reduces the need to unassign orders later. Drivers aren't misled or tricked into taking bad orders. I think I don't even need to break that one down. You guys all know, it doesn't even matter what platform you're working on. If they have a metric system, you're familiar with it. Wrongful deactivations. So this is super important, you guys. So drivers are not deactivated unfairly for false customer claims, app glitches, or algorithmic errors, which is now a new term. It probably isn't to Gary, but it is now. It's a term being thrown around in media that I never had read it in before. Algorithmic errors, because it's to the point where even on their end, there isn't a human approving a deactivation from the algorithm. That is just being passed. It's just done now. There's no people involved. And so that's even on their own end, they don't have a challenge system, but drivers won't suddenly lose their income without cause or recourse. Protection against customers abuse, which is, bad reporting. It never showed, wrong order, whatever. They dropped it at the wrong door. Drivers are more loyal and motivated when they know the system. I put has their back here, but what I think it really should be or in terms of understanding, is they're more loyal and motivated to work on that platform when there are no metrics. That's how simple it is. I mean, like, dude, I the apps that don't have metrics, that don't pay as well, I'd rather work on those at sometimes than apps that pay a little better but are using them. And that's not a joke. So drivers don't have to live in fear of losing access after one mistake or misunderstanding. And I would even add to that, or a non-incident. Sometimes just your alphanumeric code in the DoorDash server somehow got deactivated because of a one number or alpha character being off. So remove driver metrics, remove stats on drivers if they are defined as independent contractors by the app. Allow drivers to use all third-party apps that help them get contracted work done if they are defined as independent contractors by the app. Remove drivers' tier systems that grant better offers to certain drivers if they are defined as independent contractors by the app platform terms of service, which is the same that I should have said with the terms of service on all of them. But that is the same thing. And again, it just goes back to that. That's what it is. If they want to try and change that, they can. If you agree with that, please, again, put your name on the change.org. I think that's not too much to agree with. And if you don't agree with it, that's fine. If you don't agree with it and you'd like to share why, and I don't mean this mean, I would really actually love to know any reasons why anybody would be against that. Is that your real wife in the... I hate taking a pause like this, but I just looked over and I saw the...
Yeah, that's Donna.
Well, why doesn't she have a... I give everybody hammers or wrenches.
I need to be able to mute
Is that real, Donna?
Yeah.
Donna, say something about Gary. Nobody else would. Just kidding. Okay, so I guess that's the that's the change.org. If you can get involved with that. Gary, do you want to explain what you did? Because what I'm doing, I've pretty much put it out there, and it's just the beginning level of let's get as many things on record in these offices of the state in just people's hands that need to read them anyway, so that when they're approached, that's how I view it. But how far have you taken yours? Because I think
mine I've actually first off, I took all the good parts of the Colorado bill that you guys passed. So and then I used AI.
We are talking about Gary writing a bill for his state for transparency.
So I took all the good parts of yours and I went into AI and I spent, probably a few days tweaking every part of that bill into a new bill for Oklahoma, except for I did include things that Colorado bill does not have, such as, the support for third-party apps and tracking and things like that. So that way, whenever you link your Solo or Gridwise or Maximo or something like that, that tracks your earnings, you don't have to risk, the platform saying, hey, you can't use those apps. All the platforms, they use some type of third-party system to track all their income and stats and things like that. So drivers should be able to do the exact same thing. But actually, I took the bill and I submitted it to a House rep. The House rep did actually end up calling me, and we talked on the phone for an hour. He's very interested in sponsoring the bill. He did say that he understands that there will be pushback, and we might not get it passed on the first try. But he has a couple other reps as well that he wants to get on board. And so he's going to reach out to them and see if we can't all get together and have a sit down and discuss how this bill should go.
So I think I need everybody to hear this. This is kind of how things began here. And I do point out, because I just recently turned somebody on to watching the edited version. Thank you, Adam, for the $2 drop. I appreciate that. Not necessary, but thank you. Appreciate it. But so that's how we started hearing with the town. I had somebody just recently watch the town hall and go, well, damn, that's a little different than what could be done here. I'm thinking, yeah, but we passed the first legislation. Now we're the foothold. Like Gary said, he used our laws to help write that, because before Colorado, there wasn't another state. So when you watch that town hall, yes, you can realize, the senator who wasn't on board and still wasn't when he left that event, but soon after became on board, but he was completely against it. Had he not shown up, this whole thing might not have happened. No jokes. Stephanie Veal and I have talked about this, and Stephanie and I had worked on the 2023 bill that got rejected. I mean, that was with people on board. So like they do get rejected, but then we learned to split the TNC and the DNC, and that there was a need for a senator. That's why I've learned this process. And so ours was different, but now that's where I think ours comes in most handy, is that ours is the example.
Well, yeah, you can use that law for other states. It makes it quicker to draft a bill.
Yeah.
And I think what really got the House rep interested was that, first off, I wasn't asking for any minimum wage, no job securities, things like that.
Exactly.
I strictly put it in layman's terms. If you hire someone to build you a house, you don't go in there and pick every tool they use. You don't tell them actually how to do the job. You hired them knowing that they were competent enough to do the job you needed. And as an independent contractor, you should be the same way. And I think that's what really got him, because I told him, I said, if you hire someone to build a house and you tell them, hey, I'm going to give you $100,000 to build me a house, you don't later come back and say, you know what, you get $50,000. That's not how the world works. And that's
right.
not how any gig service should work either.
Yeah.
If they show you a price, that's the price you should pay.
I mean, I see confusion every day in the independent contractor thing still today, like on podcast comments, on video comments. I see people I see a lot more people watching the videos and the content and leaving comments too. So I can tell more people are way involved, and I'm trying to be really good with my answers. So hopefully I am with you guys, but there's a lot of comments where like, yeah, I agree with all this. My problem is right now, my AR isn't at this though, and I can't go dash now anytime I want. And I was like, well, if you're on with this, let's just get rid of all that crap. Yeah. I mean, like, again, it was like, they're getting there. They're cracking through the ice. They've had it, and that's what it takes sometimes. I mean, when there's highs and lows, people just will balance out. But when there's something showing you that, dude, something is really wrong here. Well, and everybody can see it.
That's the biggest thing that people fight against too, and I've seen other creators saying that we need metrics and things like that. If you're going to have a metric, you can't use a metric to punish somebody. And that's essentially what AR does. Is it
you can't use it. You can't, in this case, you can't reward either.
Well, yeah, that's a whole separate issue though, but you can't use them to punish. Because remember, back in the day, Uber and Lyft, they used the metric system to deactivate drivers who did not accept trips. Okay, well, instead of now doing that, now they don't let you schedule, or they silently pause you, all their other kind of things. They're still punishing you for being an independent contractor and only accepting jobs that are profitable to you. And don't get me wrong, I don't think every order that gets sent out, even if it's 15 miles away from me, yeah, that's unprofitable to me. But someone else that's 2 miles away from there, it might be profitable to them. I'm not saying you can't show it to me, because I might be going to that direction anyways. I'm just saying you shouldn't use that metric against me because I'm not accepting something that's not profitable at the time for me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's if you and I are neighbors, live next door to each other, and drive the same route looking for orders.
Yeah.
To be the only way I could compare it, I mean. Because even the same city, any other scenario can't compare it. Because what might look stupid to you on your end of town, even in the same town, on my end of town might make hell sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It has to make sense for that person, but you should not be punished for taking what makes sense. And that is exactly what AR does. Is it punishes those that refuse to take offers that are not valuable for them at that given time. Now, like I said, if you take an order and it gets you to that side of town, and now that order that you did reject would be a profitable one. So, but you can't punish somebody for doing something that is in their best interest. And that is exactly what AR does. Now, at the same time, this is the problem with that though. You can't have a system that punishes, that means you also cannot have a system that rewards.
Yes.
You could, because that's the same thing. You can't say, well, you can't pick and choose when to use this
no
system.
Preferential treatment.
Right. Everybody has to be the same. And that doesn't mean that these platforms can't set a dress code, because they can. They absolutely can. That means that they can also set what type of car you can take. They can assign orders to specific vehicle types, because I'm going to say Pedro made a video about this. I did watch his video, and he said, and in the first of it, he said, everybody's gets the same. Everybody, has the same opportunities. No, that's not the truth, because you cannot assign a $2,000 order to someone that has a Toyota Corolla. You just can't. It won't fit. But you can assign that to someone who has an SUV. Someone who's wearing pajamas. Well, first off, don't wear pajamas. I don't care if you're an independent contractor or not. I've never seen any independent contractor job ever not have some stipulation of dress code. You can't show up in a banana hammock. Guess what? You just can't. I don't care if you're an independent contractor or not. It's somewhere in there that you have to dress professionally.
Well, and especially as somebody from the restaurant industry, I can say this alone. It might suck to hear this, you guys, but we reserve the right to remove anyone at any time for any reason. Is a as much as no shoes, no shirt, no service is a rule, so is that. So I can just go, get out. Why?
But
I'm not allowed to tell you, but just get out.
What I'm trying to circle back to is a lot of people think that just because you don't have metrics, that you can't have stipulations, and that is not true. You can still have stipulations.
Right. You need a refined, a new, more like, I think even as you said, your words were something along the line, even in what you wrote as your bill in plain English.
Right. It has to be in plain English.
So like rewrite the terms of service in plain English, and like, that's the rules. Right. There's the rules.
And like I said, if you've ever done any contracting for the government, guess what? They tell you in the contract what is what's the word I'm looking for? Allowed to wear. They tell you, you can't show up in tank tops, you can't show up in shorts, all that stuff. You must have, some contracting jobs, you must have steel toe boots. Even though you're a 1099
Curry
contractor.
does that. And Curry now, and here's an example of something Curry does that doesn't, like what you were talking about, but doesn't require an upgrade of my vehicle. But if you sent Curry a text of a hard hat, a safety vest, boots, and gloves, you were still going to stay on the Curry platform. You were still going to get orders. But that picture made it so that now you can get more orders.
So you can actually get orders that fit with their contracting for other companies.
Right.
That's what they get. And that's what a lot of people think, well, if we keep the metrics, it's, we have a better chance of getting orders. Why? Because your AR is higher than mine. That makes you a better driver. That's not true.
To be honest, I would argue all day that once, and again, we all know about the oversaturation. That is what it is. The only thing you can do about that is just play it out. Back in the day, Gary and I remember about best fishing holes.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew that, but pre-pandemic, by years, rideshare, you knew where to go that other drivers weren't. You knew if there was a surge to go the other way and find a different part of town was always hopping, because all the drivers would leave because of the surge. So you knew, you just knew how to do this stuff. So closest to the pin is what they used to call it. And I know that there's been reference to, what is it, just closest to the pin? When the days that Gary and I are talking about, there would be like 8 Ubers in a row closest to that pin. So they knew about that spot. Right. That is the game. What part of the game is too, is waiting it out, because being at that pin will get more orders dropped from that area that all of you type of drivers are looking for. And I honestly believe it thins the herd quicker, because I'm on board with these apps and you have metrics and this kind of stuff. You believe that right out of the gate, they matter. I don't care who you are. You just think they matter.
I highlight Bobby's comment there, the one that says requiring the equipment isn't the same as having metrics. And this is 100% true. There's a difference between metrics and equipment. and you can definitely have equipment requirements.
If I didn't upload that, it wasn't hurting me. I would have got the same courier orders I've gotten for the last 4 years.
Right.
Submitting it just opened it up to, and I've only had 2, but I have had 2. And yes, they did pay a little better, I'll be honest. So yes, it said it, but I guarantee you this. That's me. I guarantee you if you like took a picture of that stuff and you got an offer and you accepted it with the PPE and then you said, oops, don't have it. You might get deactivated on that first one with Curry. I'm not even kidding. They might go, dude, screw that. You said you carry this. You sent us a picture, yo.
Yeah.
Again, therefore you might say, is that wrongful? No, that's not wrongful. That's you scammed the system. You told them you have equipment you don't have.
Like I don't think deactivating people is wrong either.
That's my point. There are a lot of rightful deactivations.
If you show up, if the terms of service has a acceptable dress code policy, and you show up in a banana hammock, you should be deactivated. You just should. You broke the dress code. If you cancel, if you accept and then cancel, accept and then cancel, accept and then cancel, yeah, you should be deactivated, because any other 1099 contracting job, they won't technically have a metric for it, but you can't do that. If you accept a job, you have to complete a job.
Right. And I was going to say, like, if you've ever hired a plumber, I hate using this example because I've hired a bunch and they come out in their plumbing vans and they got everything you need except for one piece. They always need one piece. And they got to go to the damn store and get it. I hate that. That's like their lunch break, you can tell. But anyway, but for the most part, minus the one piece they need, they are carrying everything they need. They came to your house ready.
Right. Or they should have. And guess what? If they don't, and it turns into a 2 or 3 day repair, you're either going to fire them.
Well, usually you're working on a proposal anyway, so you're not paying hourly. I mean,
well, I know, but that's the thing though. If you're either going to fire them because they're taking too long to do the job, or 2, you're going to never hire them again.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if I call someone over to replace a sink and it turns into a 4-day job to replace my sink,
I think I've got to a lucky phase in my life where I've lived here long enough and I owned bars and stuff. So I do know the best HVAC, the best plumbers, I know these people. I've hung out with them as friends too. So I feel like if people are like, a good plumber, I'm like, hell yeah. So like, if I hand you Nate, my plumber, you better love that guy, because he definitely is charging you the best charge there is. Like, I've never had somebody come back and go, like, I screwed up or what. I mean, it's like he doesn't even advertise. It's just literally people like me who know him. He's over busy already as it is. So word of mouth can wreck you too. So, but okay. So yeah. So being an independent contractor too, I did want to mention this, is that, you need control over how, when, and where the work is done. Payments, these apps are constantly breaking payments. I think all of us would be just fine with a solution of, and maybe even some of you for others, but I don't like it. I think it should be a daily payout. Curry does a daily payout every day at least in my time, noon Mountain Time. They pay everything I've earned from 12:01 p.m. like today to 11:59 a.m. tomorrow will be paid at noon right to my bank. And if I want to, I can pay a 50-cent or $1 charge and do it immediately. But I don't have to, because every day they do it and they've never missed a payment. I am of the opinion all the apps need to do something like that keeping it for a week, deactivating you, people ending up in crosshairs and they can't access their money. That's, dude, even being fired or quitting a W-2, you have to be paid that day.
Yeah, most states have some type of law that say you have to be paid that day.
Right. So to shorten it, when any company works with independent contractors, they are hiring them for a result, not control how they get there. I think that's pretty straightforward. So transparency, I think that I know you put it in yours. The 4 things we're going to go through here are, transparency, number 1. I think that I think all of us are right there. I don't know, but that also ties right in with the metrics, guys. It's just, this is part of the screwed up metrics. This needs to just be fixed. You need to know who does. All of us do. Luckily in Colorado, it just changed, but all of us, I'll include myself, pre these laws, all do what I'm about to accuse us of. Who in their right mind does work that you don't know what the hell you're doing? I'll take that. That's a banger. How do you know, dude? There might be a bridge out. You got to Indiana Jones swing over the broken bridge to get, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, dude, that if you don't have the full details, and I think anybody who's on an app that doesn't, no matter what you think of the app, I always use Roadie as the one example. Curry's clean too, but Roadie shows you everything. The orders suck, but they don't have metrics, and they show you everything. Everything. Which store you're picking up from, how many drops, blah, blah, full pay, doesn't change. Boom. Do you want it? They literally are like, here is the offer. We're not screwing around and we don't have metrics on you. Do you want it? And you can just look on the map and touch the ones. Now, I know food delivery couldn't work that way. I'm just pointing out they work in a very simplistic system that I honestly believe would save the companies a ton of money because, and this is where I'll go to you, Gary, is I know that the raising cost of data. I've even compared it to like real estate lately, like these data server buildings and stuff that have to exist to handle stuff. And so it's becoming more and more and more expensive. So I'm one individual. If I was seeing 40, 50, let's say 30 DoorDash offers or in an hour during a prime time before, but now I'm only seeing 4, but 75% of them now make sense to me at my mileage amount. Why doesn't all that just make sense? And if I wasn't clear to everybody else, if I'm saying I see 4 and 3 makes sense, so like 75% makes sense to me, and I only see 4 now in an hour instead of 30. But that before that meant I was just declining 26 more that was screwing up my stats.
Yeah. And some of those 26 before might have been the same exact offer that you already had.
Exactly. And so but my point is they're bringing down your metrics while telling you to get more, when in reality, and this is where I bring it to the data, I think at the end of this year, I'm not saying that they'll learn everywhere, but they might become a little less aggressive about fighting this stuff because they have to be saving data on me and drivers. Because if they're only sending me 4 instead of 30, and 75% of them make sense. You know what else that proves, guys? That they know what I take.
Oh, yeah. Every one of them, I guarantee you, every one of these platforms have some sort of stat that they track of average offer taken.
But that's pretty, we all, of course, that's probably the simplest of their hidden agenda technology. You know what I mean? But my point is like all of us are saying, of course they have that. Well, if they have that and they remove the transparency and the data cost is a lot less, why not just send me ones that might interest me? Because it allows you to spread other ones to other people.
And they're thinking the bad ones won't get delivered. That's what they're thinking.
But everything still gets delivered.
Not everything, not always.
Well, but I would argue the same amount as any other city. Still. Like what's not getting delivered here is probably the same percentage, like a per capita type thing versus your market as it was before transparency. My point is transparency had nothing to do with that.
That's what I was pointing out earlier. What might not be profitable to me, it might be profitable to someone else. Now, $2 order is not profitable to anybody, I don't think. But eventually someone might be like, well, you know what? I'm already going a block over from there. That's going by my house. Whatever their reasoning may be, So, I'm sure eventually 90% of the orders get delivered.
I see George here is saying tip baiting could stop if all the apps don't have customer tip up front just after the service is completed. You don't even need that. Our legislation, but I'll let Gary tell it too. In his legislation,
It clearly says in the legislation I'm trying to get past that once a tip is applied, it cannot be removed no matter what. And if it does get removed from the customer side of things, the company has to eat that cost because you showed me a price. I accepted it at that price. I picked up the food. I dropped off the food. Nothing was wrong on my end. The restaurant did something wrong, and now you want to take away money from me. That's not right.
Yeah. And that's so no, they don't, George, my point is they don't have to change the model at all. The model's perfect. In fact, I actually ordered from Uber Eats. I don't even know if I told you this, Gary, and they don't in Colorado. The last time I did this after this became law in January, I've used it another time since January, Uber Eats, and it still had the modification of tip. I just used it a few weeks back. There is no way to modify the tip or get an agent on the phone.
Yeah,
you can't up or lower it. I'm talking about the customer side, people.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to. I mean,
but Uber Eats used to have that right there for you. It used to say edit.
And see, I don't think that they should remove tipping beforehand because like some customers like me, I live like in the country. I mean, there's 15, 20 miles for almost anything. So I can actually get delivery out here and I have to tip well, So if you remove allowing me to tip up front, nobody's going to want to take my order because they're going to be like, well, I might do that for $2 or $3.
Yeah, this is what Bobby was saying too. He said, but no order would.
Yeah, none of them. You know who didn't have, and I know a lot of you guys might not go this far back, who did not have tipping up front. Postmates, when they first released, they had no tipping up front. Instacart, when they first released, no tipping up front, and a lot of their orders did not make sense for most people because you'd accept them, you go do it. Guess what? Customers like, I already got it. I don't have to tip.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I was saying in the change.org petition, hopefully some of you signed it. I know what number it was at. It's not that high yet, but it's almost to 100 guys. So, or it was when this started. So there should at least be 5, 6. Hopefully it's at 100, but by the time this is over, should have pinned that. But workers should see, they should see exactly how much they're going to earn up front. And that's what's going on here in Colorado. Workers should see how their pay is calculated, base tips, tip bonuses, deductions. And the algorithm needs to be accountable too. Who is it assigning jobs to? Rating workers, deactivating them. And there's not a human on the backside saying, we approve this was a clean deactivation. It is literally just the algorithm now. I mean, and part of this, even like, I don't know if you guys pay attention. I know Gary sees it, but these companies keep laying off hundreds of people. When you see hundreds, they don't have like 1 million people working for them. When they say 500, 600 are laid off, that's a big cut of them. But yeah, informed decision-making, the algorithmic accountability, trust between workers and platforms needs to get better. That would, if there's no metrics, those are my favorite apps. I just wish that some of them paid better. That's all. And the customer transparency. That's the other thing I wanted to hit on. It's just as important as the driver, because I've always said, and I used to say it on the round table or Sunday Fun Day with Gary. By the way, guys, Gary's been the guest that's been on this podcast most. But so, I mean, the customer needs the transparency too, because if there's ever an audit, they need to go to those records. Give me the driver file, give me the customer file, match them up. Because what are you going to do? Go into Uber and say, let me see your algorithm. I'm not calling them criminals, but they just might be. So I guess that brings up the deactivations, the importance of a wrongful deactivation and a human review. I mean, we know so many people. I know people who get deactivated, fight it for a month, then just kind of give up, go on to other apps or other things, and then out of nowhere, and they're not even notified, just open the app and like months later, they're back on. If you've heard of this, right? You've heard of this happening to people?
Yeah. Yeah, because mass deactivations happen all the time too, and they're not all legit. That's why I actually went into my blog and I actually wrote step-by-step instructions for deactivations for Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash, the three major ones. Step-by-step instructions. If you're deactivated and it's false, if you got really deactivated for something you did, or you actually did break the TOS, it won't help you, even filing for arbitration. But if you were falsely, like say, customer said I was drunk, well, that don't fly. Customer said, I stole their food. Well, clearly you took a picture of their food. It was on the porch, so you can actually go in and file for arbitration on all those. And I'd say probably 9 out of 10 people get their accounts back when they do arbitration. But if you clearly broke the terms of service, there's nothing that can help you.
But I still have people email me about the arbitration ones too. And it's weird. Some of the people who email me send me actual shots of what's going on in the conversation. And they have a DoorDash manager or something who's saying, just keep trying every day. And I'm thinking to myself, what kind of answer is that?
Well, arbitration isn't going through the companies though. Like
I'm talking about like wrongfully deactivated people who are like, you know what?
You're talking about appeals. You're talking
right,
about
but okay, yeah, but they'll be like even the manager level who handles it. I have seen these where the manager level who handles it is saying like, yeah, I don't know what, just keep trying every day. I can tell you guys as a manager, he's not even doing his job. He's not doing anything. He's just putting false hope in your head.
No, he's doing exactly what the company wants him to do, wasting time. Because here's the thing: if he tells you, "Hey,
right,
they're not responding to you, file for arbitration." Arbitration is a third party company, and every time you file for arbitration, these companies have to pay, not you, but these companies.
Yeah.
And so by filing for arbitration, they have a 60-day period to speak to you. In that 60 days, if they don't speak to you and rectify the situation, then it goes to arbitration and they pay more money. So that's
they do like arbitration as the option.
Well, yeah, because if they do arbitration, they can't do mass lawsuits. The payouts are less, things like that. Arbitration, believe it or not, and actually, because I posted these on Reddit on how to do these, and I get people on Reddit that message me all the time. And one guy actually told me, he goes, you know what, I thought the arbitration was there for the company, but now that I'm actually going through arbitration, I can see it's actually for me. Because the arbitration person, because here's exactly, this was for Lyft. The guy, he did everything he was supposed to. He waited his 60 days. And then Lyft lawyers came back and told the arbitration people, hey, we don't know what's going on here. We have no record of this. And then the arbitration person, I'm reading the thing, goes, well, now you do. I have attached the files that were emailed to you previously.
Wow.
Yeah. Arbitration dude was like, nah, we ain't playing this game, Lyft.
I got to be honest. That job sucks. It's got to suck.
It's got to suck.
I mean, you took it though, whoever you are. Like you took that job. It didn't promote it as pretty and fun. Didn't say you'd be sitting on a beach drinking pina coladas and helping people.
It might be fun. If you don't like big corps, it might be fun.
I mean, for how many days?
I got to get, Uber or Lyft, and I got to claim it for a driver, I'd be happy.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, anybody from the AAA arbitration, if you need somebody, I will do it for free as long as I get a monitor only Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash.
So before we get to the third-party apps here, I'm just going to hit on this part anyway, because we already talked about the metrics, but let me real quick just throw this out. Use of metrics forces a discussion regarding employee misclassification. What might be problematic, and extremely problematic, to be honest. A company cannot control how the contractor does the work, schedule, tools, method, you name it. Use metrics to enforce employee-like discipline, such as mandatory coaching, performance statistics, aka exactly metrics, or warnings. If performance metrics are used in that way, that resembles employee oversight the contractor is then misclassified an employee. And it triggers immediately to the company who is doing it one of 3 tests used in this country. The IRS 20-factor test, not the Barella or any of the older tests, but there's actually a 20-factor test now. The ABC test, which is only used in one state. I think we all know it. That's due to AB5, and it's what produced Prop 22, but the ABC test is used. That's a killer too. And the economics reality test. Those are the 3 tests used in this country to determine if you're an employee or an independent contract. Doesn't matter what state you live in. One of those 3 is used. And in every one of them, if you put through the scenarios we work for on these gig apps, we do not we're not independent contractors. We are because they call us that. But that's where I think a lot of people are like, but this has been an issue for a long time. Trust me, I know I've been fighting it for a long time, but it's finally hitting the ears of people who actually talk the talk now too. And That's what I was saying about the town hall. Gary, you were there. Like, even then you could tell, like, the law, we already knew the lawmakers knew nothing, but they didn't even know the lingo or the language or what the hell is a metric and I'm not kidding, guys. I'm not trying to belittle them. They're not stupid. They just had no idea what was going on.
Well, yeah. Whenever I talked to my house rep and I was talking to him about it, he's ordered from Uber Eats and he's taken Ubers,
right?
But he's never been a driver,
Yeah.
And so, he's like, oh, I didn't know I could remove a tip. He goes, that's not right. You know? And then I told him, unfair deactivations and things like that. And he goes, yeah, that doesn't sound correct at all.
Preferential treatment.
Well, and I went over the metrics with him and stuff like that. He goes, sounds like employees. I was like, exactly.
And that's why I brought up those 3 tests, you guys. And you guys know I could go into the details of any of those tests, but to be honest, those are the 3 in this country. And ABC test is only used in California. So the other 49 states use one of the other 2 tests, and neither of those tests you will pass on. Hence, you are by the test, you're an employee. You would fail. Yeah. And that would bring a lot of burden onto the company. They have been putting out fires after fires after fires when really the realistic goal is to just understand, like I tell a lot of them, and they love this. Same thing Gary said about money. Once you connect with them about the money part, like how much, I mean, other than like some filing fees and some little rinky-dink things that really don't matter in the big scheme, when you tell them nothing, their eyes light up. Well, you can see the dollar signs like an old cartoon. They're like, I don't have to spend anything on this bill. Wait a minute. And that's what you guys want? Done. Yeah. Like, tell them before they hear Prop 22, because Prop 22 is going to down the road cost them a shit ton because they're going to have to declare people workers. We're seeing it right now in California with this weird deal that I'm sure we'll get into on Thursday with Sergio. For the 500th episode of the Rideshare Rodeo Podcast will be one of the topics because I want to know about this California union. Like, I mean, I know all about it. I want to hear him explain it. I want to hear him tell me exactly how's this thing working again? Because I know he was getting a headache on the Rideshare Garage last week. I was watching. I was having fun watching it. So, Sergio, we're going to have a good time. Also, autonomous, all kinds of edgy topics will be brought up. But anyway, so yeah, those are the tests that you have to meet, and they can't meet them. So here we move to third-party apps, and before Gary even gets into it, I'll bring up the quickest one to all of you is mapping. That's considered a third-party app.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let Gary start this one because I think that the third-party apps, like, this is a huge thing.
Yeah, third-party
independent contractors.
And believe it or not, it's not even just about my third-party apps. It's just about third-party apps in general.
Mileage tracker,
mileage trackers, earnings trackers, navigation, things like that. They should never be able to tell you what third-party app you can do, as long as it's not doing something that would hurt their platform, like GPS spoofing. You should be able to use an app to do that. Of course, come on. That's common sense.
Right.
But anything that can help a driver legally, in this sense, legally help the drivers, that doesn't hurt the platform should be allowed. For example, my apps, they do a lot of auto accept and auto decline. you know, just because they can do that doesn't mean that, you know, the platform should fight against it. Because if you're going to accept something, you're going to accept it. If you're going to decline it, you're going to decline it, with or without an app. That's just how it works. I know I am never taking a $2 offer with or without a third party app. I'm not doing it. I don't care if it's 200 feet. That $2 can sit there all day long. I don't care. You know, and so earnings trackers, those are a big thing. First off, we all have to pay taxes. Why do I have to rely on the platform that controls the offers to tell me what I made? I've never had any business. Middleton Technologies, guess what? I use a third-party software to tell me what I make throughout the year. And it connects to my bank account and does all this other good stuff, you know? And so why am I not allowed to use that with Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Spark, or whatever platform I'm working with? Whether they like it or not, that should be something that's allowed.
Absolutely. And I know you know this specific case. You and I have talked about this one. It's one from the past, but I think this is a good example of where not only did it need to be available, but this would have saved this guy's ass. Remember the guy in Oregon who got a state audit done from Uber?
Yeah.
And he had done I don't even remember the whole thing was Uber. It was just Uber rideshare.
Yeah. And they kept asking for his customers.
They wanted every receipt from all his customers for the year. And he's like, then contact Uber, dumbasses.
Yeah.
He's like, what the fuck are you bothering me for? And they're like, because it's your bit. You're the contractor. So again, even in that incident, they proved that absolutely third-party apps are legal. You should be using one if you can't keep track yourself.
Right. Yeah, you're relying on the company that controls your earnings. You are relying on them to track your stuff correctly. Raise your hand if you ever had a 1099 show up that's wrong.
Yeah,
I have.
Right.
And through Uber, in fact, and through Uber. And you know how hard it is to get that corrected through Uber? It's pretty hard. Oh, and in fact, like state websites even says that if you can't get it corrected after so many attempts, you contact the IRS, and the IRS has to get it corrected for you because they have to legally match your books. If something's wrong between your books and their books, someone has to figure out what's wrong. And so that's why I think third-party tools, I don't think these platforms should be able to tell you. And if they do have a specific third-party app that they don't want you to use, they have to list it and the reasoning why. They can't just be like, we don't want to. No, you have to give me a specific reason why. GPS spoofing apps. Okay, I get that. Anything that can pull sensitive customer data, things like that. Guess what? I completely get that.
Yeah.
But if it's anything to do with my earnings or anything that I have to report to the IRS or anything that helps me not break a law, a lot of states are passing these laws that you cannot touch your phone even once while driving.
Oh, yeah.
So if I'm not allowed to touch my phone while driving,
we're hands-free now, and it's expensive for the ticket too.
Yeah. Why are you sending me offers while I'm going down the road if you know I can't touch my phone?
And since they know by the mapping and everything that they do on every city, they know where you are. They know you're in a bad intersection to deal with this.
Yeah. Yeah. They have all the metrics of your city lined out.
They know when you're in one of we all know, we have 4 or 5 intersections in big cities. Like, oh, dude, I'll avoid that at all costs. And then you end up in it for some reason. Dude, they know that. They know you're in the Bermuda Triangle. And they're like, you got to answer this right now. Like,
and who decided on, 9 to 11 seconds to accept an offer? I mean, who decided? But by the time you're going down the road, you go to look down, you've already lost 4 seconds. So there's no way you can make, a determination based off 5 or 6 seconds. You just can't.
Yeah.
And so any tool that allows the driver to be safer, track their earnings, incomes, things of that nature should be allowed. And the companies should not be able to give backlash or, deactivations or anything like that. They shouldn't be able to do any of that. And so that's why I put that in my bill as well.
That's on our bill has it too. It was kind of surprising to see it on the rideshare side. Do you know they hated that? That you must give them 30 seconds. What?
Yeah. I mean,
but we only give them 3.
Is it really increasing? Is it really increasing the time the customer's waiting? No, it's not.
No, it's not. And also, even tricking the driver, are you not producing a worse product for the customer? Because you might get a hella pissed driver that he took that. Well, while it shouldn't come out on the customer, it will.
I've never cared about metrics. I've never looked at my metrics or anything like that. Unless someone asks me about my metrics, I don't ever look at them because I don't care. If I accidentally, this is the thing I really hate about Uber too. Their overlay that pops up, Steve doesn't know about because he's an iPhone user, but Android users, you know it. You be typing a text message to somebody or going to do something on another app or whatever it may be, and their damn ride pops up and you accidentally accept it. I unassign them because first off, I didn't see the price. I didn't see anything, any details about it or anything. So I unassign every one of them. I don't care. What are they going to do? Deactivate me for it, and then I'll take them to arbitration. That's just how it's going to work. So,
I mean, honestly, your apps are what you use. And so I mean, I know you do know it from the other perspective, but I think that you and I both agree, like, dude, that psychological stress that they put you under is hell. And if you're multi-apping, it's like multiple hell. Another reason to run Gary's apps, and I'm not just promoting, I'm saying, but then follow what we're talking about and don't look at the metrics. Just set your parameters, dude. Like, that's what I do, man. That's the thing. Don't try and cheat me, bitch. Like,
I've never created my apps as a way to say F you to the companies. I've never done that. It's always been, and day one, Steve can contest, I've always promoted them as safety apps because that's what I want them to be. I want them to help a driver not touch their phone so much that they don't have to look at it while they're driving, things like that. But yet they can still make the earnings that they need to make.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
I mean, it really, like, again, just, with full transparency, does that mean Gary's apps don't come into play? Absolutely not. I would think that they still are fully in play. In fact, even better so, because now you got this non-transparency thing where you're only going to see what they show. Like, they're not trying to trick you into lowering your AR or this or that or the other, whatever they feel like that day. Like, you haven't been metricing correctly, so we're going to make you do these 5 hoops today. Like, not only is that's gone, but with Gary's apps, you'll just set your pay amount, dude. You shouldn't have to think through that constantly anyway. You guys should know what you're worth.
Exactly. You should definitely know what you're worth.
I mean, again, and we've talked about this many times, different markets, right? Gary lives in a different market. I live in a different market. Like, my city is extremely expensive. So I have some people tell me, dude, I only made 2/3 what you did. How do you make that much on curry? Well, I have to pay twice as much to live here. So at the end of the month, you probably have more money than me.
Adam, contractors do have a time limit, by the way. Whenever I get a contract for programming, there is a deadline for that contract. So if I don't respond to it, it times out and I can no longer do it.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you were talking about, like, I was going to refer to it like in terms of like building houses too, like the GC. Yeah, they have to have the house done at a certain point. Yeah. So they're hiring the plumber, the HVAC, the construction team, this, that, the other. And so everybody has to meet in that timeline. Otherwise, usually there's fines assessed.
And even like Steve, he does lasers, he has a time to be there, time to complete the job, all that stuff. Like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people,
that's where people get screwed up too. I've had a lot of people tell me you're not an independent contractor unless you set your price. I never set my price with lasers or production. I get an offer, a proposal. It says, do you want to do this? And it has the amount I'm going to be paid. It has when my travel dates will be. Everything's already done, dude. It's all paid for. Here's your hotel. Here's the hotel you're going to be staying at. It's in there. Yeah. So they already have the room booked because they're going to need somebody to do it. Here's what the flights would be.
Same thing with me. Whenever I get a proposal, guess what? It comes by email.
Dates, here's the down dates. Here's the times you're going to be needed to do this. All of it's in there, very detailed. And then I decide, is that money correct to do that work? I say yes, I take it. They book everything. I'm done. I go do exactly what that paper says. I come back, I get paid correctly, and I get per diem on the day. So I mean, like, I guess my point there is like
your pay never lowers. Is that what you're saying? Your pay never gets lower?
I'm saying that independent, you can't say you're not an independent contractor if you're not setting or anything modifying that. There's a lot of different ways they can come in.
Oh yeah,
and you could still be IC.
That's what a lot of people think. Removing metrics or keeping metrics makes them independent. A lot of people think that if you remove metrics, that you can't do certain things. There's all kinds of stuff. That's why it's called a contract. The only big difference for us is each offer shown to you is a new contract. That's what a lot of people understand. You have your overall contract, which is, hey, right. You won't do this, this, and this. But then each offer is an individual contract as well. Like, do you want to take this $5 2-mile run? That's a contract. You hit yes, guess what? You just now said that you will complete this job. You have all the tools necessary to do this job.
Yep. Yeah. So you guys, I had Gary for an hour here, and that's episode. I was going to say 300. I had it labeled right here as 399. It's not 399. It's 499. 499. Which means Thursday is do I have it here? I do have
Sergio, episode 500.
Episode 500, people. You know that guy? Look at the hats. We're gonna be squaring off facts against fiction.
Wait, type in the chat if type 1 if you think Steve's gonna win the debate, or 2 if you think Sergio's gonna win the debate.
It's not a debate.
It's gonna be a debate. I'm gonna show up, type in the chat just to make it a debate.
I mean, to be honest, there are some, and yeah, I think Gary knows this from being on Twitter. There are some topics that are going to come up that are going to be, and that's what Sergio and I do. We don't see eye to eye on everything, but whenever we don't, we have a good conversation.
You don't have to see eye to eye to have good conversation. I mean, you don't see eye to eye on everything either. So
no. But today was a lot more kind of that way. Yeah. The next episode might be a little different. Luckily, I have to mute. Like, if I need to, be like,
we've argued before.
Oh, I know. Especially all the roundtables. And I know to those of you who always say, bring it back, Gary and I once in a while will. Sunday Fun Day. I know. I still have people to this day tell me those were their favorite streams.
Yeah. Josh, that was his favorite stream.
Yeah, there was a lot of people. I mean, no matter what, all walks of life came by that one. I don't know. We had no purpose there.
Me and Steve are going to do a new type of podcast in January. We're going to go snowmobiling, and we're going to record it.
Actually,
and we're going to see which one of us died first.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you too. Yeah, and Bobby, I saw your comments about like you're ready for the next step. Nice. We're gonna be there soon, but like this again. Remember that in 2023, we put the bill on the House floor with Stephanie writing it and 2 other supporters, and we weren't told by the lobbyists. Because why would they tell us? But we weren't told how much of a problem in the dynamic it was creating between being a TNC and a DNC law. That's when we learned we had to split it off. That's when Senator Priola took the TNC, and that's why they had to be 2 bills. So in 2024, we got it passed. My point is, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it will take a minute. So don't expect a reply but we're gonna do.
It took 2 weeks. I'll tell you this: almost 2 weeks for my House rep to contact me.
And that's pretty quick, is what I'm saying.
And that's probably because I know him. And he goes he goes my aides haven't got through all of our emails yet. He goes, but I'm gonna call you. I said, okay, cool.
Right. And the next step is basically I think Gary typed it in earlier, is to call them, their office and leave a message, but also. I've said this, and I can get that information off to anybody at this point whose state we've submitted, is that you can certify mail them. I think that's a smart idea. I can't prove it at all, but that is proof they got it and received it in the office.
Right. And the thing is you can also go down to their office. It's open. I mean, they have
right. I just meant certified mail is actual physical proof.
I mean, you got to remember there's a chain of custody that comes in, because wherever you email or mail off whatever you're sending off, it does not go to the reps directly.
No, it goes to the aides.
It goes to the aides first, and then they summarize.
But they still have to look at them.
They do have to look at it, and they do have to summarize it for the actual rep.
Yep.
And then the rep will, follow up further from there. Or he'll have somebody on his team follow up to get more information. It is definitely a long game. If you expect something to happen in a month's time, it's not going to happen in a month's time.
Yeah. Okay. I'll totally get with you and everybody else with those addresses.
And then anybody hasn't done this in their state, Steve or myself can definitely help you. You just got to email one of us, steve@ridesharerodeo.com or gary@middletontech.com, and we can get your ball rolling on your state. It's pretty simple to do now.
Or if you're on Discord, you can go to Rideshare Rodeo on Discord.
Yep.
And there's I don't have a ton of them, whatever they're called, sub channels of your server or whatever. Mine has Rideshare Rodeo, Gig News, and then it has another one it's just the Bills, the third one down. And if you click on that, you can see the ones that we've already done, but you could also put your hey, I'd like to do my state in there.
Right.
Because that'd be a good place for it, because then we could work on it, talk about it, other people see it. So, but yeah, anything that works. And I want to thank Mr. Middleton for his time, and check out Gary's apps, guys. I mean, I don't know, if you're not using something, you should use something. It's better than nothing.
That's a great tagline.
Something always beats nothing.
Something always beats nothing.
All right, you guys. Hope to see you all on Thursday. Thank you, Gary, and
just drive safe, drive smart, and earn more.
Be safe and earn smart. Peace, y'all.